Es esmu Anda Lāce, māksliniece, performanču māksliniece un arī Sociālās labklājības rezidenču programmas kuratora kopš 19. gada.
My name is Modesto Flako Jimenez. I am a Brooklyn artist who migrated from the Dominican Republic and now puts on a lot of his writing in different mediums, whether it be a play, a coloring book, a gallery installation, documentaries, or community engagement workshops.
Bieži vien tās performances, viņas, nezinu, tu tiešā pārnestā nozīmē, tur kails noliec sevi priekšā un tas, nu jā, tas ir pavisam savādāk nekā savā darbnīcā radīt, nu, tur, nezinu, glāznu vai objektu vai instalāciju, un tad viņi tur pēc tam izstādē dzīvo savu dzīvi. Tā pirmā performance noteikti, nu es viņu nesauktu tādu šausmīgi veiksmīgu, bet viņa acīmredzot bija vajadzīga, lai pāris gadus vēlāk es kaut kā dabiski sajustu, ka konkrēti viena darba ideja, kur sākumā es mēģināju uzgleznot, ka viņas īstais formāts ir tieši performance. Un es atceros, jā, es vienkārši kādu laiku vēroju, ko tajā laikā darīja Platāns Borovīckis, tas bija 12. gads. Pirms 10 gadiem, un sapratu, ka jā, tas, ko viņš dara ar skaņu, un arī tas, kā viņš tur ņemās tām klavieru preparācijām, ka es to visu saprotu, es redzu to visu, un ka tas strādā, nu, tas kaut kā savstarpēji tik ļoti tuvs. Un, jā, un tad viņš bija pirmais, ko es uzaicināju sadarboties, un tas tā kaut kā aizgāja. Un, nu, nezinu, kad nebija tā, ka pēc tām pirmām performancēm tur vispār, nu, kas tas tāds ir, bet, nezinu, kāds pasaka, ka tieši tas, ka tas viss ir kaut kādā ziņā pilnīgi nepareizi, ka tas varbūt ir interesanti, bet, nu jā, īstenībā reizēm pietiek pat ar vienu cilvēku, kuram tu sajūti, ka vēl bez tevis tas ir svarīgi un vajadzīgs, lai būtu, jā, lai tas turpinātos.
I would say I found my way into it through theater. Theater was the first love, and being on stage, playing multiple characters and just leaving the reality of what Bushwick was, which was a beautiful place, but also had a lot of craziness and a lot of hurting people. And yeah, it pushed me to our crazy normality that was Bushwick back then, of like really a lot of people hungry and a lot of people like fighting for a come up, fighting for survival. Drove me into like a lot of Shakespeare and a lot of the craziness of the novellas that is the Bard, and experimenting with that and adapting them to fit my neighborhood. It just kept growing. Like, how do I keep playing with old classics and adapt them to fit my community? And then that just started becoming more of how do I write for community? So that means I have to do a lot of research and a lot of dramaturgy and a lot of behind work of the land and the place that I plan to engage with my art. And that usually dictates what's the art that's needed, or the art that the community receive. Like, what is the art the community receives the best? Is it through a play? Is it through a poetry? Is it, oh no, they actually just want somebody giving them a nice 45-minute speech? And how do you make that really poetic to make sure that you're not like making them get lost in just facts? So a lot of my writing usually addresses the history of that hurt. Like Taxilandia, my last project, is like the history of Bushwick and all the complications of that and all the layerings of all the people that have been in this piece of land. So there's a lot of hurt in all of that.
Sociālās labklājības rezidenču programma paredz, ka profesionāli mākslinieki vai arī mākslas studenti, kurus interesē šī sociālā ievirze, viņi ierodās rezidenču centrā. Un rezidents ilgst mēnesi, un viņi zina, ka viņiem aptuveni 8 stundas nedēļā ir jāpavada kopā ar visdažādākiem cilvēkiem. Viņi var izvēlēties, viņi var braukt uz slimnīcu vai pansionātu vai arī būt kopā ar apkārtnes bērniem vai visiem vai vientuļiem senioriem viensētās. Bet, jā, oriģināli šī doma ir, ka mākslinieki galvenokārt ir tiekās ar cilvēkiem, kuri ir kaut kāda veida izolācijā. Ja iepriekš es vienmēr biju tas mākslinieks, kurš tur kaut ko dara mākslā, tad pēkšņi man bija jārūpējās par citiem māksliniekiem, kas varbūt kaut kādā ziņā pat bija daudz izaicinošākāk nekā braukt uz slimnīcu un sociālo aprūpas centru.
Taxilandia, the project that I did in New York and San Diego, and now we're in Washington, D.C. What I realized from the New York version to the San Diego version was like, oh, because this is personal to me, it is very different than me going to San Diego and telling somebody else to do this research for their land and be open to receiving everything of all the complications of their land. That is very, very, very stupid of me to think that I can put somebody else in that predicament and not give them a therapist, right? Like, how dare I ask you to unearth everything that is your land and all those complications without supporting the proper tools for you to be able to digest that and then address it and create language for it for yourself. And then after the language, create poetry for your language. Like, it's so many layerings that is like that might need a therapist for this person to understand that these are all the complications of America. And I'm not asking them to yell at people. To me, it's like, I'm not here to like enlighten everybody. That's not my job. My job is to like create some art that I feel like can create conversations around these hard topics for all of us, including myself, because I want to be able to talk with my hood friend who doesn't give a fuck about Shakespeare and hang out with the guy that like geeks out about a sonnet. And both of them live on the same block. So I want to be able to have conversations with both. Understand that the brain, everybody works differently. So if this person works better with pen and paper and writing it down first and then letting somebody else read it. So these are where the workshops come into play before we even do the theater art sharing part, right? Like Taxilandia first asks you to have conversations on mapping gentrification for the neighborhood before we engage into you seeing the art, right? So it's like there's steps into that clarity for me. Step one is creating that collaboration and that vulnerability for two people to share with each other and find something for the community now. So now I'm no longer the only one talking. It's like, oh, that person knows more about that land. I'm going to do all my research and all my due diligence to like know all the things that I need to know about it. But there's always going to be blind spots that local is going to tell me about the corner store that sells a specific type of snack that all locals from that community like, and no one else knows but the local. That's the moment where Google comes in, and that's the moment of reaching out and really doing the community reach out of like, let me see what the open mics are. Let me see what are the little events that are happening in the town that have no capital, that they're like, please donation base and all that shit, right? Like that artist that is trying to do it, trying to get themselves on, trying to be put on. That's the artist I want to work with.
Jebkurā cilvēku pulciņā cilvēki ir dažādi. Tad šajā slimnīcas pulciņā cilvēkiem tā gradācija ir krietni plašāka. Un līdz ar to ir spēja uztvert, un arī ir daļa, kas nevar parunāt vai runā mazliet savādāk. Un tad ir tādi arī cilvēki, kas ir ļoti šķietami inteliģenti un ļoti radoši. Un tad šis cilvēku kopums, viņi visi vienojās procesos, katrs pēc savām spējām. Un savukārt mākslinieki lielākā daļai parasti jau ir kaut kāda vīzija, ko viņi gribētu darīt. Bieži vien gan procesa laikā tiekoties ar cilvēkiem, tad visdažādākiem cilvēkiem, viņiem rodas jaunas idejas. Tas ir viennozīmīgi appusējs process. Man liekas, ka viņš ir ļoti līdzvērtīgi, ja ne vēl, manuprāt, tā pieredze, kurām mākslinieki iziet cauri, arī, ko man vairāk ir teikuši, kad tas ir, ka tas ir tik spēcīgi, ka, ka viņi to neaizmirsīs un ka tas ietekmē arī kaut kādas viņa tālākās izvēles bieži vien. Piemēram, kad laikmatīgās mākslas mākslinieki, pieņemsim, laikmatīgā dēja, varbūt arī vizuālā māksla tiek pirmoreiz aizvesta uz sociālo aprūpas centru, kur pretī ir pulciņš ļoti konservatīvu, aizspriedumainu senjoru, kuriem ir vienkārši ko? Ko mēs tagad darīsim? Kas tas tāds priekš kā man vispār smieklīgi un kungs ieņem tādu uzreiz tādu pozīciju, ka viņš ir pret visu to un tas liek ir ļoti interesanti paskaidrot laikmetīgās mākslas procesus, piemēram, ļoti izaicinoši, ļoti interesanti šādam kungam, kurš nolēma būt visu laiku opozīcijā. Un tad gal galā pieredzēt brīdi, ka viņš nevis tikai sēž pagriezis demonstratīvu sānu, kaut gan tiešām nevienu neliek ar varu tur iet, viņš pats ir izvēlējies atnākt, bet visu laiku būt opozīcijā. Un tad es nezinu, es esmu pusgadu ar viņu regulāri tikusies, un viņš visu laiku ir griezis, tiešām nozīmē zobus un burkšķējis un teicis, ka tas ir visas muļķības. Un tad galu galā ir kaut kāda viena mākslinieka grupa, kas viņu atver tā, ka viņš arī smaida un dejo. Kaut gan šķiet, ka viņš vispār knapi nevar paiet. Un tad visādi šādi jauki brīži kaut kā, vismaz man arī palīdz.
Alzheimer's makes people forget, and I wanted to make sure that I documented her life and left her legacy. So that was like the personal ego-driven part, right? So then the second part became, oh shit, I learned a lot taking care of my grandmother, being a home care person. So how do I share that knowledge? Okay, great. Oh shit, I figured out that this knowledge can be shared, but it doesn't really work in my old templates of a play. The play can only support those artists that actually have the freedom and all these other things of, they have time and space to actually consume this knowledge. The person that's actually doing home care, which is one of the people who I want to engage, they can't even leave the house because they're still taking care of that person. Oh shit, that's going to require me to create something that goes to them. Oh, that could be the documentary, or that can be the VR world. Or that can be the workshops that is asking them, bring your person with you, because I know you can't leave that person anymore. Bring your Alzheimer's patient with you and do the workshop together, and both of y'all can get some healing. The project, it's personal, but it also demands for me to listen to my community, where it's like, oh, the first workshops I did, I really didn't help out any seniors because it was really hard to get them there. So then I understood I needed to create a transportation system around the workshop to actually get the people who the workshops are intended for there. The first workshops were just full of people that didn't really need them, I think, because I didn't know that I needed to bus the people that needed them over to the workshop space. Now, the second round of workshops, we actually bussed seniors over. So then that started helping the artists and the seniors now. So then it's like, okay, great. Now we're meeting both communities together. What is the third step now? Oh, the people that can't come. So for them, we're going to create YouTube videos because then they can watch those at home and put them in Spanish and English. That's how Mercedes has, one, it was a celebration for my mother. And like, how do I celebrate a person that is leaving me? But also, how do I document all the great that she did for a bunch of people? And also, how don't I go into trauma? Because the skills that I have are acting and writing. How do I use that to keep myself happy and celebrating the person that made me the man I am?
Bet arī ne visi izvēlās strādāt, piemēram, ar slimnīcu, un ir arī mākslinieki, kuri tā arī nekad nepamēģina aizbraukt, iepazīties, un tas ir pilnīgi pieņemami. Neviens ar varu netiek vests ne uz pansionātu, ne uz slimnīcu, bet, protams, ka es esmu ļoti priecīga tajos brīžos, kad es redzu šo transformāciju, ka cilvēki pieņem it kā to, kas sākumā šķiet nepieņemami un pārorientējās un nolēma saistīt savu laiku. Pirms tiem 4 gadiem man nebija spēcīga vēlme, ka man ir jādod kaut kāds sociālais parāds. Man drīzāk bija, man bija interese, es nezinu, pamēģināt, kā tas ir būt kopā darboties kopā ar cilvēkiem, kuriem piemītāts arī tāds ļoti specifisks radošums vienai daļai. Ilgstoši redzot viena konkrēta cilvēka lielo dūšu, un man patika, kad, piemēram, ka šī tā rezidences, tie procesi, ka viņi ļāva, principā, šim cilvēkam spērt tādus soļus, ko viņam, principā, ikdienā vairs nav iespējams. Viņš pārsvarā sēž, varbūt lēnām iet, bet tad pēkšņi bija apstākļi, un šķietami, pietiekami droši apstākļi, kuros šī sieviete varēja griezt to valsi pa telpu. Arī, ja viņa salīgojās, mēs noturējām, bet viņai bija atļauts šim brīvā gara impulsam izpausties, un viņa par to netika sodīta, un nekas slikts nenotika. Un man ļoti patika tā doma, ka tas ir arī iespējams, ka reizēm tu vari būt pārdrošs un varbūt neprātīgs nedaudz, un tas arī, tā kā nekas slikts no tā nenotiks. Šie cilvēki vienkārši nonāca manā dzīvē, bet es jau tāpat savā mākslā turpināju domāt par to, kas man ir svarīgi. Jo arī, ja ārija grieza valsi, un tā bija ārija, es domāju par sevi, par savām situācijām, kad mani pārdrošos soļi ir saģēmuši šie sodu, un es esmu kritusi un lauzus kaulus. Gandrīz visi mākslinieki, kur ir aizbraukuši iepazīties, parasti turpina arī tikties, un parasti ir galu galā tā, ka viņiem ir mazliet skumji atvadīties.
Like if it can crack one person to think better or to engage and question, that's the goal. Anything outside of that is like get out of your head, bro, and stop being all full of yourself. It's more like engagement is the key. You kind of let them know who you are by just offering your whole self, right? Like you really have to be like, this is my resume. This are all the things that I know how to do. What do y'all want to play with all of this? Like, what are the things that challenge that will bring you some joy that you might not know? How do we fail in that? Like, I'm not going to assume to bring them anything I don't know, right? Like, I'm not going to do a whole bunch of research a week prior to take them something that I clearly don't know how to handle. So it's always being like genuine with, hey, I know how to write poetry. These are some of the styles I know how to really use that help me in life. Like, this is a list poem that I write every year. I have to write a new line for it. So the poem doesn't end until I die. So like, I go in that raw and that vulnerable with like, hey, these are my skills. I don't know these things about your land also, so can y'all teach me these things? So also giving them a moment of like, y'all know y'all have power and y'all have value and y'all have all these things that usually communities that don't have the capital don't get. Off the bat, jump in with that empathy.